All right, we're going to go through some exercises on what ones that we commonly use for people with low back pain, especially people who have low back pain with repetitive bending and also a lot of sitting. So Kenny, let's go laying on your belly. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to start off propping up with your elbows underneath your shoulders. So this is a really common position that we have to start in, just getting people to reintroduce extension into their spine. Now, with a lot of this, what we're really looking for is trying to get push into some of the stiffness in the low back. What we're working into is what we call the obstruction to movement, or really that stiffness or that block in that extension range of motion. If this is very easy, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to push into a little bit more extension, press through the hands, raise the shoulders up, and start working into a little bit more of that extension into the lumbar spine. Now, this is very easy for Kenny. One of the things I'm looking at as a clinician is I want to see where we're getting high enough to where the pelvis is just kind of being pulled up off the table and they're relaxing into that position. Go ahead, come back down. Since that's nice and easy for him, we're going to go into a little bit more range of motion just by pressing up it once again. Come on up. When we get all the way up to the top, I want you to pause and take a breath out. And as he goes into that breath out, it really allows him to drop into further extension range of motion. And go ahead, come back down. That's still very easy for Kenny. So we're going to pull your hands back underneath your shoulders. Good, and press up from there. Good, and pause, breath out. Good. Now that's about Kenny's end range of motion. He's not the most flexible or the least flexible person around. So we have to tailor these exercises specific to the individual and which direction they may need to go. This isn't always the exact direction that people need to go. It's just the most common. Now go ahead, come back down. Some people who happen to be very flexible may actually need to put blocks or a little bit of support underneath their hands to make sure that they're getting into that full end range of motion. Kenny's not the guy for that. This version of the exercise tends to be the most effective when it's used in the right person, but it's not always the one that we can use the most frequently throughout the day. For that, we might need to go into more of a standing version of this exercise. So Kenny, I'm going to have you come on up into standing. Have you come right over here, bud. And we're going to go hands on your hips. Good. Feet apart. Hips forward, bending backwards. So really working into that extension range of motion. A lot of times people can't get into as much range of motion as we can while we're laying on our belly. But the reality is that if we're going for a long drive and when we get out of the car, we're probably not going to get on the ground and work our exercises in the middle of the parking lot. But this is a much more practical version of the exercise that we can get in throughout the day. I'm going to have you go ahead, turn to the right, just so we can see that range of motion. We're going to go facing away from me. Yeah. Hips forward, bending back. Very good. And relax. Now with these exercises, the key is consistency. We are predators, which means we have canine teeth and our eyes are in front of us. And since our eyes are in front of us, we naturally interact with the environment in front of us. The average person bends forward several thousand times a day. We don't always bend backwards. So the key with this exercise is every couple of hours, really making sure that we're getting this exercise in and making sure that if we are doing things that tend to cause aggravations, if we're doing a bunch of bending activity that we have to get done, we may need to pair more consistently with that exercise, this exercise here, around that activity. But this is a great way for us to get started restoring that extension range of motion that is so commonly lost. And a lot of times that loss in range of motion is the first sign that we have a problem before we even start having any sort of pain or other symptoms.